Kuwa mkono ambao unalima ardhi, mlango wa kulima, kuwa mshindi, kuwa na uhakika sasa, kukulea mustakabali wa baadaye. Tufanye kazi pamoja na tukue pamoja, kuimarisha Kenya ni jukumu la Farm Kenya.
Well, a very good afternoon to you and welcome to the Farm Kenya show. It is 2026 to Livuka. My name is Nokip Kimbo and I hope that you are doing well. You've started your year on a high, which is very, very important. And right here at the Farm Kenya show, we promise to give you content that touches on agribusiness and making sure that you as a farmer, as a value chain player, you are empowered to make decisions that will be better for your business. But overall, we are also trying to solve this big issue of food security in this country to make sure that everyone gets adequate, enough and nutritious food in this country. So welcome to Farm Kenya 2026 is that year. And today we're starting off our discussion on matters to do with financing, because we understand that money is power. Money makes things move. Money helps scale businesses. Money empowers farmers to be able to acquire the right seeds, acquire the right fertilizer, all that to make sure that they are thriving in their business. So the question is, when you lack access to adequate funding, what needs to happen? And especially when you are part of the marginalized. Let's talk about women to be specific, because women are a huge contributor when it comes to farming and agricultural value chain in this country, contributing almost 75 to 80%. All right, that is one thing. So they dominate our food ecosystem, but at the same time, they've been marginalized when it comes to matters to do with land ownership, but more importantly, financial muscle, access to money to be able to invest in their value chain. So the big question is, how do we bring down those walls and make sure that 2026 is the year of adequate financing, especially to women farmers? And to help us discuss this particular topic, I'm joined by the CEO of Micro Enterprise Support Program Trust, that is MESPT Kenya, Rebecca Amukoye. Welcome to Farm Kenya, Rebecca.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Noah. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. I mean, first of all, 2025, how is it for you briefly before we start our discussion?
It was an amazing year, really, very challenging, but also very dynamic. We were able to significantly work with smallholder farmers. We were able to reach out to around 60,000 smallholder farmers with a lot of information on good agricultural production, but also providing access to finance. Last year, we worked with just over 20 circles that provide loans to smallholder farmers. And I'm proud to say that we were able to reach up to around 37,000 smallholder farmers, and 70% of those being women, accessing credit to invest in agriculture. So yes, it was challenging, but also very, very fulfilling in terms of the work that we do at Micro Enterprises Support Program Trust.
Wow, incredible. I mean, that is massive impact. And even when you talk about utilization of SACCOs as, alternative channels, I know that will feature much when you talk about financing and making sure that finances flow towards women and specifically smallholder farmers. Sure. Before we go specifically to women, let's start with smallholder farmers. Actually, they feed the nation. The food that we eat each and every single day comes majorly from smallholder farmers.
Sure.
Talk to me about their significance in Kenya's food ecosystem.
Indeed. The Kenyan agricultural food ecosystem is dominated by smallholder farming. We all know that agriculture contributes to just about over 21% to the GDP of this country, meaning that it's very important, and therefore majority of Kenyans live in the rural areas, and just over 75% of those are actually smallholder farmers, and they derive their livelihoods from agriculture. And And so smallholder farming is quite important, because of what it does in terms of contribution to the GDP, contribution to the economy, and also contribution to household incomes, to which many rural families depend on in terms of their day-to-day survival, but also on many other needs, including education, healthcare. And so when we speak about smallholder farming, it's actually the backbone that drives rural economies in Kenya, and therefore it's increasingly important.
Definitely. And for this group of farmers who are powering our food value chain, our food ecosystem in the country, what's the evolution like? Because I understand when you talk about land, the portions are getting smaller by the day. Real estate is it's more attractive than putting your farm right there. And this one is going. I'm even seeing land companies now acquiring large tracts of land, subdividing, and now those agricultural lands, we are losing them. Seeing where smallholder farmers are, is it as a result of land policies that we've made that have not sort of made sure that now a majority of people own smaller portions of land and they still need to grow their food? Or what leads us to this place?
I think looking at our demographics, of course, there is growing population. And besides demographics, we also have the cultural alignment to land and significant importance put on land in such a way that in most communities you find that they value land so much that they continue to subdivide land, especially across many communities, especially for men, and families would want to make sure that every son born in a family has access to land. And because of that, it has continuously put pressure on production land to a level whereby the subdivisions are reaching a level whereby most of the land now is not economically viable. And I think that is why the conversation now, especially if you listen to some of the statements by our president, is to really look back and reflect on the need for. There's no need to continue subdividing the land, because the more we continue subdividing the land, the more we reduce its viability, its economic viability and economic importance. So I think looking at the policies, the whole land ownership process, the whole cultural attachment and importance that we have put on land makes land a very important aspect of someone's asset. And because of that, it has continuously been subdivided. And this is even more dangerous in high potential areas. If you go to Western, for example, it's now very difficult to find someone with even 3 acres of land, which is still small. So the land has been subdivided to a level whereby it's not economically viable. So we're trying to mitigate that and encouraging smallholder farmers to virtually amalgamate so that they can be able to increase volumes, because without appropriate volumes, access to market becomes very, very difficult. And we cannot be talking about financial inclusion if we do not have cash flows, if farmers don't have cash flows, if they do not have access to predictable markets, for instance. So the whole aspect of land subdivision really disadvantages agriculture. And I think it is something that we really need to begin to look into and have that conversation so that we can be able to stop that practice and see how we can be able to bring back most of our arable land into production. If you look into the arsal and semi-arid areas where we have large tracts of land, of course impacted a lot with drought. The rainfall patterns have changed due to the climate, the changing climate and the vulnerability that comes with that. So you find that, yes, there are large tracts of land, but because of drought and because of inadequate rain and because of over-reliance, again, of our agriculture on rain-fed farming system, makes the communities within the semi-arid areas also really, really vulnerable. So we need to be looking at farming systems that promote water use efficiency, water harvesting, irrigation, so that we can reduce over-reliance on rain-fed agriculture. But for high potential areas, look into mechanisms to reduce, or rather to curtail, the subdivision of land, so that whatever is left can be used more for food production.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, those interventions, and I'm pretty sure you've made some of these interventions, whether be it towards policy recommendations or active, engagement with smallholder farmers on the ground to go to mechanize, to make changes. When you look at a smallholder farmer, a typical smallholder farmer in Kenya, paint for us a picture. How do they run their business? Is it somebody who's doing it? Okay, I have a small portion of land.
Yes.
I grow some things, but I have my main hustle somewhere. What is a typical smallholder farmer in Kenya?
Typical smallholder farmers, there are different typologies. Of course, we have the subsistence farmer. The subsistence farmer is one who grows food for the household and therefore doesn't focus more on trade. And then we have the semi-commercial smallholder farmer who may have maybe just about 2 acres of land, produces for utilization as food within the household, but also produces sufficient or surplus for the market. And then we have the commercial farmers who produce mainly for the market. So if we look at typical smallholder farmers, they range between the subsistence and the semi-commercial smallholder farmers. Most of them own below 2 acres or 1 hectare of land. And therefore, it is within that they have their home, and that is where they grow, they do their commercial activities or their agricultural activities. So looking at that typical farmer, then you find that most of them are not salaried. They are not teachers. They are just farmers. They depend on that 2-acre piece of land for their livelihood. And therefore, what we try to do as an organization is to work with these typical smallholder farmers that range between subsistence and semi-commercial. So moving the subsistent farmer to the semi-commercial and trying to move the semi-commercial to the commercial by enabling them to grow and to grow more within the land that they have, but also to sell more of what they grow. And by so doing, trying to organize them into associations or cooperatives so that within that they can be able to meet the economies of scale and be able to access market. So that whole aspect of structuring smallholder farmers into groups, into associations, into cooperative is what really gives the strength, or rather the opportunity for the smallholder farmers to grow. Otherwise, left by themselves, it can be very difficult to even move from subsistence to semi-commercial.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's quite a transition, because you stop thinking about agriculture and you start thinking about agribusiness.
Yes.
And that has been quite a challenge for smallholder farmers, as you've rightly put. What do you think have been the biggest barriers? Because at one point we say, maybe it's mindset. People are just, they're just a little bit, the way they say the average age of a farmer in the country is 60 something.
Yes.
And people justify that when it comes to uptake of technology and modernization of our farming in Kenya.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that transition of smallholder farmer to, especially majority who are doing subsistently, to sort of semi-commercial. What are the big barriers there?
The big barriers, there are many barriers there. Of course, finance is one of it, but access to markets, for example, is the other, because we cannot be talking about access to finance or credit if farmers do not have predictable markets. So there are barriers. There are access to inputs, farm inputs. We all know that farmers need fertilizer, they need certified seeds to be able to do what they are doing. So sometimes access to inputs becomes a challenge. But besides what is within their control, but also knowledge, yes, we know there has been a lot of work in terms of training farmers on different good agricultural practices, but farmers still continue to struggle with technical expertise around production of different crops in terms of spacing, in terms of the right soil health management practices, water management activities, and because of that, you find that their productivity in terms of yields remains low. So there are quite a number of barriers there. Besides that, we also have challenges around quality in terms of quality standards, food safety. For you to access better market, whether local or international, there are certain standards that a farmer must meet. And sometimes acquiring certification for those particular standards is expensive. And therefore, if farmers are not organized, if they are not contracted, for example, or attached to a certain market, it becomes very difficult for them to tap into premium markets. So those are some of the challenges that farmers face. But besides that, also climate change. We can see now the seasons have changed.
Yeah.
The rainfall has reduced. There's just a lot going on, and therefore you find that the way we knew seasons to happen, things have changed. Nowadays, farmers can't plan better unless they have information, access to weather-based information that can help them make informed decisions. It becomes very difficult, and therefore organizations like Micro Enterprise Support Program Trust need to come in to work with these farmers to help them find access to information, for example, so that they can be able to make informed decisions on what to plant and even where to get quality inputs to plant. What kind of practices do they need to utilize so that they can be able to get the best out of what they're doing? How can they manage post-harvest issues? You know, if they are growing perishable crops like mangoes, avocados, export vegetables, how do they manage perishability? So all those aspects are things that we try to do, and also increase access to farmers certification, so supporting small MSMEs in agriculture to work with smallholder farmers to better increase certification so that farmers can tap into premium markets, especially for export. So looking at the challenges and some of the things that we do really contributes towards stabilizing the smallholder farmer production.
Definitely, and I read a lot of hope in that. There is work on the ground that to support these farmers, even as they transition into semi-commercial and hopefully fully commercial. The idea of amalgamation is quite interesting. Because you have to put your heads together. I've seen in some areas, especially in highly agricultural areas, and maybe there is propensity for certain crops to do well in certain areas. It becomes very easy because you're growing the same thing. We might as well just unite and work together and access market and do it well.
And I'll give you an example of the farmers we worked with in Taveta. In Taveta, for the last 5 years, we worked with farmers to commercialize banana value chain in Taita Taveta, especially in the Taveta side. And therefore, we supported farmers to establish organic clusters for growing commercial organic banana. And with a buyer from Denmark, Orana, we have been able to support smallholder farmers form a cooperative of just over 100 farmers who came together and established over 500 hectares of banana in one place. That makes it easier for the commercial buyer to establish mechanisms for movement of banana from this farm to the pack house, and it makes the packing easier and the export easier. So yes, you can have an amalgamation of land virtually. It is 500 hectares, but it doesn't belong to an individual. It belongs to a number of farmers within a cooperative, and therefore they bring together their resources in terms of capacities, labor, to be able to grow a crop that can access premium markets. And as I speak today, these farmers are really encouraged to continue working with this commercial partner for export. And it's the first organic export banana from Kenya, from Taveta, out of that partnership. So yes, it is possible.
It is
to unlock those opportunities. Yes.
What happens when you are in an area where farmers are doing different things? Do you encourage them to sort of pick one thing?
I previously worked with farmers in the cassava value chain, and it became increasingly difficult to support. So I also think it depends with the area. and the context in which the smallholder farmers are in. So when you look at a crop like banana, which already had ready export market with a commercial partner as a partner to this arrangement, it became easier because the market was assured. But for this other context, especially in Nyanza, where I worked with farmers in the cassava value chain, it became very difficult to access good markets for cassava. And therefore, farmers felt that the prices that they were being offered for wholesale cassava were much lower, and they could get more money in the retail cassava. When a commodity stays in retail, then it cannot scale, because scale requires volumes and growth. So because of that, you find that we still have a lot of struggles around commercializing the cassava value chain compared to the banana that has had ready international market. So I think context matter, and also culture and norms and the way farmers are organized matters. So I think it's really context specific. If we look at the Taveta area, for example, it was easier to do this because there are large tracts of land there. And therefore, it is easier for farmers to come together and lease large tracts of land for large-scale production of a commodity. Yes,
that's quite interesting. You've said when a commodity is in retail, it's very hard to scale. Especially from a smallholder farmer. And this is driven by quite a number of factors. I might as well call them, risks that are there. For example, if I need to sell something today in order to survive today, for day-to-day survival, I sell my cassava so that I can buy sugar. So that keeps you in that retail segment. How do you alleviate this sort of risk and create a soft landing, even if at all there is any transition into scalable projects to move them from retail to more commercial scale?
I think if you look at the different agricultural value chains that have commercialized, they've commercialized because of association or cooperatives. Look at the dairy sector, for example. The dairy sector is thriving commercially because farmers are able to come together and aggregate their milk. And because of that, they're able to structure and streamline the dairy value chain. Look at coffee, for example. Look at tea. But when you look at very, very food-based commodities that are not easy to completely commercialize, remain retail. And because they remain retail, it becomes very difficult for them to get to their potential. So working towards commercializing different commodities helps unlock opportunities for market for the smallholder farmers, access to finance for the smallholder farmers, but also it attracts investment into that area. So it's a matter of working with farmers to appreciate the value of scale and volume so that they can be able to stay in business. And by looking at smallholder farming as a business, then that is the first step towards unlocking commercialization of a commodity. Yes.
Quite interesting. Spoken about the farmers realizing value. And what jumped into my mind was value addition as one of those areas, especially for smallholder farmers, to derive value from their products. Apart from amalgamation and coming together, is it one of those low-hanging fruits where you can easily make more money for these small-scale farmers, even as they come together? Let us find a way of creating crisps out of our ndumas and think about supplying in the value chain.
It's the first step towards cottage industry, the first step towards enterprise. But it must move beyond cottage for it to bring value. So, for example, if farmers need to do value addition, they still must think about volumes. So it's not just about one farmer growing these potatoes and creating crisps out of it. So farmers need to go beyond that and see what is it within the value chain, where are they getting more value. and then see how best to play within that value chain. So you find that when smallholder farmers engage in different agricultural value chains, that is why we need to bring in market, because when market is available, then it creates value for the farmers, so that if they don't have the capacity to value add, then the SME needs to come in and provide value and add value to these commodities. I'll give an example of a lady, I think she's from Makueni. She's called Mary Madhui. She's just a smallholder farmer engaged in poultry. She started just by keeping chickens, selling eggs and all that. But when we started working with her, she saw value in specializing in hatching indigenous chicks, and she stopped getting into everything within the value chain and focused on growing chicks for sale, and she has scaled that significantly. And beyond that, she saw value in feed formulation for poultry, because it's an expensive operational cost for the smallholder farmers, and she ventured into feed formulation. So as she grows chicks for sale, she also processes feeds for chickens. So when farmers come to buy chicks, they also buy feeds from her. So you see, she's adding value by making sure that she's reduced the cost of feed formulation by tapping into BSF, these flies that increase the protein in feeds.
Yes.
Growing azolla that also contributes to supplementing poultry feeds and increasing value in it, and really ensuring that feed is available, but at a cost that farmers can be able to afford. And she's created value for herself around that particular space. So yes, value addition brings value to agricultural commodities, but it brings even bigger value if it is at scale.
Definitely.
Yes.
Very, very important.
Yeah.
We want to take a short break. When you come back, of course, the foundation of our discussion was especially finances, because somebody is waiting. I want you guys to start talking about the money.
Yes.
Yes. So we'll talk about the money and specifically what you're doing to break those walls, sort of to de-risk the sector and make financing smallholder farmers the place to be and also the thing to do in the year 2026. This is the Farm Kenya Show. We take a short break. Keep it right here on KTN. Still more to come. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to this wonderful conversation right here on the Farm Kenya Show. And today we're discussing matters to do with financing of smallholder farmers. And in studio we have Rebecca Mkoe, who's the CEO of Micro Enterprise Support Program Trust. And earlier on, we lay the foundation of what exactly is going on in the smallholder value chain, the dynamics right there. And right now, we want to talk about the issues to do with finance, which is very, very important. Rebecca, so money flowing into the smallholder farms. You've said we've laid the foundation earlier on, that sort of amalgamating them, coming together, mechanization, making quality products, producing quality products, that leads to interest and scaling, and you're able to access market and make money of it.
Sure.
But traditionally, when we look about financial flow into the smallholder value chain of the market, how has that been? Is it that bad?
It's financial access has improved over time. Of course, we now know from some of the studies done in 2024 and of recent, about 84% of women are able to access finance for whatever activity they want to participate in. And for men, it's just about 85.7% who are able. And what has driven this scale in terms of financial access is, of course, digital lending. So it's not that bad, but it's inadequate. So as I earlier alluded to, smallholder farmers face the challenge of having they lack consistent cash flows, and basically lenders would like to be assured that their money will be repaid back once they are able to give it out to the smallholder farmers. And also given some of the, what we say, the perceived risks. Most of the smallholder farmers, I talked about some of the challenges smallholder farmers face in terms of over-reliance on rain-fed agriculture. So you find sometimes the production is not very consistent, is not assured. Because of that, of course, it positions them to be a little bit more risky. But that, we are working on that to really make sure that farmers are able to grow enough for their homes and also more for sale. Farmers are able to find access to market, and as they find access to market, they're able to streamline their record keeping and build their credit history so that they can be able to access credit. For farmers who have already joined cooperatives, are already accessing credit indirectly through farm inputs. Find most of the farmers, for example, the dairy farmers who are members of farmer cooperatives, can be able to access farm inputs or even livestock feeds through a check-off system because they already have consistent supply of milk to that particular cooperative. Okay. So yes, financial inclusion, the gap is small, and there's a lot of effort that many organizations, banks, SACCOs, microfinance institutions, fintechs, there's a lot of effort that has gone towards ensuring that farmers access credit to be able to invest in agriculture. But it's still inadequate because of some of the many challenges that I've already spoken to. So what we're trying to do as Micro Enterprise Support Program Trust is to really, we are very deliberate about working with smallholder farmers and ensuring that they access credit. And because we are not in retail, we support SACCOs to access affordable credit that they can be able to lend to the smallholder farmers because they are at the grassroots. And these farmers are their members to the SACCOs. So what we've done as MEST is to set aside a fund that we can be able to lend to SACCOs at concessional interest rates so that they can be able to use that to encourage farmers to join SACCOs, and through that, farmers we be able to formalize that arrangement. When farmers join SACCOs as members, they learn how to save, they learn how to do farming as a business, because then cash flows become very important, and then out of that they're able to borrow and invest in agriculture because now they're already in the mainstream. So what we've done as MEST is to become very intentional in setting aside resources that we are able to provide to SACCOs at very concessional interest rates for them to interest smallholder farmers with affordable credit for them to invest in agriculture. And that is actually yielding significant impact at the grassroots.
I mean, that's quite interesting because just to simply put, create a pool of funds, tell SACCOs, okay, these funds need to reach farmers, but make sure that they are coming for it. Let them join the SACCO so that there is sort of a formal channel of this particular flow. On the farmer's side, other than them coming into, because traditional finance has always seen smallholder farmers, anything small is considered risky, especially by banks. So we haven't had a very good culture of financing flowing into anything related to small. But that is being broken down, especially with the cooperative sector, as you've rightly put. So how do you make sure that, how do you assess who gets this funding, especially from the smallholder farmer, especially if they're operating individually? Because I know the intermediary is the SACCO. Do you also let them do the assessment, or is it something that is involved?
Yes, it is the SACCOs that do their own assessment. So for us, our engagement is directly with the SACCOs. So our role with the SACCOs is to make sure that we work with them to co-create appropriate financial products suitable for different agricultural value chains, because our expertise in agriculture and their expertise is in lending. So we work with them to make sure that their credit officers are well trained to be able to understand different agricultural value chains, so that it's not a one size fit all. So we work with these SACCOs, and SACCOs have been very very agile in terms of being creative, in terms of working with us to develop appropriate financial products that fit different agricultural commodities and different scenarios of the smallholder farmers.
Okay.
So besides the opportunity for MEST to provide wholesale loans to the SACCOs, we go a step ahead to work with the SACCOs to co-create appropriate financial products that are appropriate for the smallholder farmers to access.
Okay.
We also look at different commodities and see how much grace period, for example, with this commodity require for the farmers for this credit to attract the smallholder farmers. And besides working with the SACCOs to develop appropriate financial products, we also work on building the SACCO capacity itself to be able to assess agricultural credit, to be able to map the risk so that they know how to price the loans that they're giving to smallholder farmers. Okay. But besides that, working with the SACCOs to make sure that these farmers are trained. So financial literacy then becomes very important, where we work directly with the SACCOs to make sure that they're able to offer appropriate financial literacy as part of their marketing of the different financial products that they offer.
All right.
Yeah.
It's amazing that you empower the farmers on that end, but also on the other side, it's sort of a whole line of just making sure everyone does what they're supposed to. I'm thinking of the products and scale-wise, because when you talk about smallholder farmers, this is across the nation.
Sure.
And there is no like one size fits all, as you've rightly put it.
Yes.
What do you think are some of the products that industry, especially the SACCO sector across the country, because you have SACCOs across this nation, will sort of pick up and say, with this is one of the low-hanging fruits that can work in Wajir, as well as in Kisumu, as well as in Western, or is it as specific as you put it, depending on the specific SACCO?
They are specific, of course, and context matters, but also agricultural commodity matters. So, for example, the way they tailor a financial product around dairy is not the same way they'll tailor a financial product around export vegetables, for example. So we've worked with the SACCOs to tailor financial products differently. So, for example, if you look at a farmer who is exporting French beans, for example, maybe they'll need about 90 days to produce French beans. And when they sell the French beans, they might get a bullet payment. So instead of asking this farmer to repay on monthly basis, they can also just structure a bullet payment, but also allow this farmer some grace period to enable the crop to grow, sell the crop, get paid, and pay a bullet payment together with interest to the SACCO. So it's really context specific in terms of the type of agricultural commodity that is involved, but also the type of credit that is being designed. Of course, there are some credit products that are tailored around cash flow, the way cash flow comes in, the way farmers are able to sell their commodities and get money out of it. For example, if you look at the dairy value chain, farmers who are able to sustain supply of milk through their cooperatives can be able to sustain repayment on monthly basis because they are able to get that money paid. So what we do with the cooperatives is to make sure that we work with farmers at the corporate level to ensure there's increased supply of milk by the smallholder farmers. So all the challenges, many challenges that farmers are facing in terms of access to feeds during dry season, we train them on how to preserve that, we train them on how to take good care of their animals, and that helps to de-risk the dairy value chain, and it enables the farmer to continuously supply milk, and by so doing, this farmer can easily access credit through the cash flow that they are creating.
That's incredible. Empowering these farmers to be able to take advantage of these products. The riskiness, especially because you say the SACCOs are the specialists when it comes to on lending.
Assessment,
assessment and whatnot.
And
the risky, the risky element of it, because that has always been a barrier. It might be a little bit risky to lend to these farmers, and you're training the SACCOs to be able to sort of factor all factors at
Yes.
play at that particular
Yes.
area where
Yeah.
they're operating.
And besides training the circles
Yes.
and ensuring they're well empowered, besides the money they get, the other skills they get to be able to position them well to lend to smallholder farmers, we work directly with farmers on the other side. And by us working with farmers, we are helping de-risk the value chains. Yeah, because by ensuring that farmers have access to market, by ensuring farmers' commodities are certified and can access both local and international markets, all that is really de-risking the value chains. Yeah, so there's a lot of work that happens in the back end to prepare the smallholder farmers to access credit. Yes,
I see that.
Yeah.
Quite interesting. Specifically for now women.
Yeah.
Because they dominate smallholder farmers at the production level.
Yes.
Majority women.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the disenfranchisement of women, because I know, like you've said, when you look at credit access, digitization has reduced the gap to access of this credit as much as it's small money. Do we still have major gaps, gender gaps in smallholder farmers that is sort of still falling on women?
Yes, you'll find that most, of course, a lot of women who are smallholder farmers are also young. Some of them are young, they're in their childbearing age, and therefore they're overwhelmed with care work. Most of them do not have time to even attend trainings on agriculture or even take their commodities to market because they have to be home taking care of children. So if you look at some of the traditional gender roles that women have to undertake, it actually disadvantages them. So you find that unless we are able to understand some of these challenges that young women face, for example, and be able to tailor activities or services that can be able to address some of these challenges, then it becomes very difficult for women to access credit. But a lot is happening in the communities because women have realized that it's good to be in a group. They start with chamas, so they start very small. They move beyond being one person to being 5, to being in a group, and within that group they're able to learn from each other. And before you know it, they start saving, they start learning how to save through those small groups. And those small groups have become very powerful in unlocking access to finance for women at that level. So what is happening at the grassroots is that beyond those chamas where women are able to come together and save and sell commodities and save something on daily basis or weekly basis, those particular chamas are now members of circles, and if they want to increase credit to their group, they can be able to access bigger credit and be able to co-guarantee each other within the groups so that they can still access credit. So there's a lot that is happening at the grassroots that is unlocking access to finance for women in agriculture.
That's amazing. Especially the power of teamwork, coming together and leveraging on numbers.
Yes.
Which is incredible. Talk to me about are there specific products also that target women that because I know these days finance is very specific, especially impact finance. A lot of people, I want this money to go to this group of people. Are we seeing that becoming more frequent?
It is frequent. I'll give an example. MEST is lucky to be in partnership with MasterCard Foundation through a program we are calling Financial Inclusion for Youth and MSMEs in Agriculture. This particular program has a fund of a fund of about $17 million that has been earmarked for smallholder farmers, young smallholder farmers in agriculture. It will not go to anything else. It will be young smallholder farmers in agriculture through circles, and within these circles, there's of course the traditional lending, but they also have digital financial products. So depending on the capabilities of these young people, young smallholder farmers, and 70% being women, they are able to access concessional credit to be able to invest in agriculture. So yes, we have earmarked or just allocated funds that are going to be invested in agriculture purely for that.
Okay.
So all the activities or all the circles that are working in agribusiness and have portfolios for young people with appropriate financial products for young people, then we are ready to partner with them to offer that.
Okay.
So by earmarking a fund specifically for agribusiness is a way of cushioning this and ensuring that that fund is made accessible. And even as we cushion this money to go straight into agribusiness, even at the circle level, there are conditions there. They will only work with smallholder farmers who are vulnerable and who are ready to invest in agribusiness, 70% of them being women. And we are looking at, in the next 5 years, being able to reach 250,000 smallholder farmers, 70% of those women, accessing investment for agriculture.
All right.
Through circles and through other means.
Wow, 250,000.
Yes.
Is in the next 5 years.
Yes.
Quite ambitious.
Yes.
This year, because our time is running out,
Yeah.
Rebecca. 2026.
Yes.
Talk to me. One, and we've spoken about the partnership with MasterCard Foundation, amazing pool of money towards smallholder farmers. What should we be expecting, and what support can we get to make sure that we are seeing more finances flow to smallholder farmers, especially from a policy perspective? You know, right now we are living, even when you look at banking, there is risk-based pricing.
Yeah,
so your money is always looking, that one looks risky, so we would put it there. But from agricultural policy environment, 2026, what are some of the areas that we can intervene to make sure that the life of a smallholder farmer in Kenya doesn't remain the same?
Yeah, I think for 2026, I think you remember towards the end of last year, the government launched the financial inclusion strategy. That in itself shows interest by the government to be able to promote financial inclusion for vulnerable communities, and farmers are considered, smallholder farmers are considered marginalized. Young women and young people are considered marginalized. So by the fact that now we have a framework that looks into promoting financial inclusion is a big step for us. If you look at the county governments, there is an opportunity there. Most county governments are now looking into supporting young people to access credit. Look at the Nyota Fund that the government has launched of recent, and the many young people who are accessing that. Most of them are in agribusiness because some of them are based in the rural areas. So that is unlocking financial inclusion for young people and for marginalized smallholder farmers. So I think 2026 is very promising when it comes to smallholder farmers and how we are looking into working with them, and with the resources that different organizations are pulling in, shows hope for the smallholder farmers. I also want to mention that over the years, MEST has worked with Danida, the Republic of Denmark, here in Nairobi, to be able to de-risk smallholder farmers so that they can better access credit and invest in agriculture. And we have been implementing a program called Green Employment in Agriculture program, where we have worked with over 40,000 smallholder farmers in 12 counties to be able to increase their agricultural productivity in order to increase their resilience to climate and also access to credit. So there are a lot of efforts that different development organizations and also different ministries in the government that are working towards ensuring that there are resources to be invested in agribusiness to unlock opportunities that exist in the sector.
Wow.
Yeah.
A very, if you know, people in the markets will call it a very bullish outlook. Yeah, very positive, and 2026 definitely is going to be a different year for smallholder farmers, especially when it comes to access to finance, which is critical. And that, of course, underlays food security for us as a nation.
Sure.
And I believe this is an ongoing conversation that we'll continue having with the different dynamics in there. But thank you very much, Rebecca, for making time to speak to the Farm Kenya show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you so much.
Asante sana.
Yes.
Rebecca Mukoye is the CEO of Micro Enterprise Support Program Trust, MESPT, as she's called it. And she says that smallholder farmers do matter. And how do we show that they matter? Is to trust them with resources to optimize their production. At the same time, you don't just give money, but empower them to come together, find markets, be trained on proper bookkeeping to make sure that these smallholder farmers are doing business as it should be done. And she says that 2026 is that year where we'll see more flow of financial help and investment into smallholder farmers in the country, and that overall makes Kenya a better place because majority of our food do come from smallholder farmers. So this conversation has been amazing, lovely, a lot to learn, and it's an ongoing concern that will continue following up whether this money is reaching the smallholder farmers. But for today, thank you very much for being part of the Farm Kenya show. It's been a pleasure. It's the first show this year. I'm looking forward to an amazing year, and hopefully you too will have an amazing year. That's all from Farm Kenya today. My name is Nokip Kimboy, and we are out. Keep it KTN.
Tufanye kazi